Welcome to Rock Solid, the Round Rock Business Leaders Podcast. Join your host, Bryan Eisenberg, as he explores the journeys of entrepreneurs and companies across Round Rock, Texas. From startups and nonprofits to large organizations, each guest shares their passion for doing business in this thriving community. Let's dive in.
Hi, everyone. It's Bryan Eisenberg, and I'm here with my friend Selicia Sanchez-Adame. A pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm most excited because I think you are the first guest we've had who is a second-generation entrepreneur of Round Rock.
Hey, it's just many blessings is what I would have to say.
Now, recently, we had Darwin Tanksley on an episode, and he had mentioned, growing up in the area. He was originally from Taylor, moved here, but he went to the school system. And he mentioned that, if you look around downtown Round Rock and a lot of the businesses there, they're all classmates, people of Round Rock ISD. You are as well. Tell us a little bit about why you think that's been so impactful to have so many entrepreneurs come from our school system.
I think, you got to look back in terms of elementary, middle school, high school, the different resources that were offered to us, right? And we dabbled in a little bit here and there from even going back as student council, right? And learning how that is ran internally in a school. But I think it's the confidence building, right? The teachers. It's fascinating because one of my teachers, Bobby Sheets, who is Steve Sheets' wife, was one of my middle school teachers. And I'm kind of jumping ahead here, right? But being on the Round Rock Chamber board chair this year, she reached out to me and she was like, I am so proud of you. And when she sent that to me, that just really touched my heart and melted it because I was like, wow, you remember me. She's like, yeah, I remember you being this girl in middle school, and now look at what you've achieved. But I look back, and it's for teachers like her that actually really took the time to help educate and build that confidence within us in the school system.
I've definitely seen that, with my kids having gone through Round Rock High School as well, and the impact we're now on year 10 of kids going through there, and how impactful some of those teachers have been. Unfortunately, we've lost a few of them, but there's still, I agree. There's something special about the educational system and the community. And you're a big part of this community, not only because your mom had a business here, and I want to talk about that later, but you do a lot of things within the community here. And as you mentioned to start with, you are now the board chair for the Round Rock Chamber for 2025. So tell us a little bit about how that came about. How did you decide to step into that role?
And truth be told, completely transparent here, I was a little bit hesitant, right? Because it is a time commitment. And, I have a family, I have a business, I have other things that I'm involved in. And so I was a little bit hesitant to step up and say yes. But I went home and I spoke to my family and my husband and my mom, of course. And I was like, I want to do it, but can you all just be my backbone and help me, right? And they're like, absolutely. And I said, but I'm going to do it not for me, right? And this is what I've learned throughout my career and my childhood up to my adulthood. It's not for me. It's for somebody else, right? I want to be somebody who is up on the stage or at a meeting or at the table, and someone else who I never need to meet will look at me and say, you know what? Somebody like her or looks like me or talks like me could do it. I could do it. And so this is not about me trying to do something on the next move or whatnot, but it's really to be an inspiration to someone I don't need to meet.
Yeah, Darwin talked about this as well, right? The fact that here he is, an African-American, becoming an entrepreneur of the year in Williamson County, how powerful it is. I imagine, you probably have some similar ideas and thoughts behind that as being a Latina entrepreneur here in the community as well.
Yeah, no, and it's growing up, I looked up to a lot of people who now I get to call my friends. And it's funny because I'm like, wow, I wonder if this person knows who I am, right? Or I wonder if I could make an impression on them to get to know them a little bit more. And you fast forward, And because I've raised my hand and I've said, hey, I want to contribute to this community, it's led me to now have those people that I look up to as friends of mine. I get to serve on boards with them. And I'm like, wow, I would have never guessed that in a million years. Like walking into a room, I always wondered if you knew I was there. And they're like, absolutely. Because you know what? You have that passion and you have that drive.
Rock Solid is produced and recorded at Round Rock Studio. Located right here in Round Rock, our state-of-the-art studio is built for podcasters and creatives alike. We offer multiple professionally designed podcast sets, top-notch recording gear, and a full photography studio ready for any project. Whether you're launching a new podcast or upgrading your existing one, we can help with multi-camera recording, editing, and everything you need for success. Record with us at Round Rock Studio, your local podcasting partner.
Let's step a little bit in your professional life for a little bit. You run a market research firm. Based on what you're seeing, and I want you to talk a little bit more about the firm, based on what you're seeing with your clients, how does that impact the way you view what's going on in Round Rock today in the business community?
So when I started my company back in 2007, mind you, I was only 26 years old, didn't know what I was doing. But I grinded, right, and I kept my head above water. But learning how to run a business and being in the market research industry, it's interesting to see the different types of audiences they're wanting to speak with, right?
Yep.
And I think we have a really good opportunity, not just Austin, but Williamson County with the growth of our clients that we get to work with, our Fortune 500 clients. And they're just really interested in the demographics, right, of our growth. And so a lot of the times when our clients come to us, they're trying to figure out, okay, do I go to San Antonio? Do I go to Dallas? Do I go to Houston? Or do I go to Austin?
Yep.
And so they're coming to Austin and just seeing that diversity, if you will, right,
Yep.
of different types of mindsets, ages, demographics, ethnicity, gender, and they're wanting to understand for their products and services, how do I serve this particular market? Because if you go to like East Coast, West Coast, it's completely different than down here, right?
Very
in
much so.
Texas. So
Yeah, Brooklyn born,
Yeah.
Raising my kids up here in the Austin area. Very, very, very different. I mean, when I went to school at Brooklyn College, they did a study actually, and they found that on campus there was over 200 languages spoken. I don't think we're that diverse
Right.
here, but there's still a lot of diversity and a lot of acceptance of just people, because we look at people as people here, which is really significant. What would you say, getting into the field of market research and opening up your firm were some of the biggest challenges that you faced, being accepted by a lot of these Fortune 500 companies?
I was a new kid on the block, right? I probably looked like I was, 15 years old when I started the company. But I had experience, right? And I give a lot of credit to key individuals throughout my journey as I was going through ACC. I worked at ACC. I transferred over to Texas State, right? Graduated and then got hired on to really understand what is market research. And I was blessed that my husband, boyfriend at the time, pushed me off the ledge and was like, you're going to start this company. And I was scared, right? But it took a lot of grit and realizing when I walked into some of the doors and opened them up, a lot of them were skeptical, right? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, here's a Latina woman walking in. Why do I need to pay attention or listen to what she has to say? But the minute I, really had my confidence in place, right, and knew what I was doing and what I represented, then people were like, okay, she really does want to be here for the right purpose and really make a difference. Yes, not only in her ability as Think Group, right, as her market research firm, but an ability to make a difference in her community as well.
Let's explore that a little deeper. For new entrepreneurs, and I know you love to mentor entrepreneurs as well. If they're thinking about opening up a business in this community or any community, what's that piece of advice that from all this research you've been doing over the last few years that really can have an impact on them to step into their confidence?
And I really think taking advantage of the resources, right? And truth be told, I didn't know any resources going into it, right? Other than my boyfriend, now husband at the time, just saying, hey, do this, do that. And I didn't have any strong mentors. I didn't come from a family. Yes, my mom has a nonprofit organization,
Yep.
but not an actual business, which it is kind of still similar, right? But not that expertise where I'm like, okay, where do I go for resources? And I never really was even involved in the chamber. And so now, fast forward how many years I've been involved and been able to raise my hand and ask questions and be curious is where I realize those are where the resources are, right? Is understanding other people who have walked the path and can share their challenges. So for me, if an entrepreneur is out there and they're interested in saying, hey, I might be a little hesitant, but where do I go? I would honestly look at contacting the chamber in whatever city you live in and ask questions, be curious. And, and if you're a woman entrepreneur, I always really tell people to get certified, right? As a woman-owned business, because I literally just got certified probably like about maybe 4 years ago. And I've had my company now for going on 18 years.
Wow.
And so I was always scared to do it because there's so much paperwork. But again, there's organizations that could help you through that process. And it's a lot easier when you join forces with someone else.
Yeah, curiosity is definitely a superpower that unfortunately people seem to be afraid to kind of leap into it for some reason. Let's go back to the chamber because you have set quite an aggressive agenda for what you want the Round Rock Chamber to do this year. As an ambassador, we've heard your call to try to get 1,000 members. What are some of the other big initiatives you think we need to, in order to have such a big impact on, especially on our community?
And I want to just clarify, I've tasked myself and our board 1,000, and it's not an arbitrary number.
Yeah.
But it's because like even yesterday we finished our executive meeting and just hearing all the different committee chairs like speak about what they're doing, I reminded all of us, I was like, this is what inspires me and I know inspires you all. Like hearing all the great work that we're doing, we need to have more members because people need to learn about the resources that we're offering, right? So it's I'm sure we could get past 1,000, but some of the other key things, though, of the initiatives is, skilled trade. I know that's huge. And I'm going to be, again, completely honest here. Growing up, people looked at that as like, oh, that's if you want to take a different route. That's not really what you should be doing. You should be focused on the 4-year college degree, and that's fine, right? But
it's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody, and things have changed, and you can make a really significant impact if you focus on the skill trade. And if we're trying to recruit companies to come to Round Rock and set up headquarters here, we have to have that workforce that are ready to, get involved. And one of the other ones too is just making sure we're accessible to all, right? I want everyone to know what we're doing, and everyone should be able to feel like they could walk in to the chamber and say, I have contributions that I too want to give. Because the more we could learn and see from different lenses other than ourselves, I think that's how we're really going to be successful in making movement in our community.
So if I'm a new entrepreneur, right, or just started a business up in the area, what are some of the those secret resources that I should be taking advantage of that I may not know of? Like, I walk to the chamber and I say, hey, point me. What do I need?
Yeah. Well, I always say once, you're a member, right? And you don't even have to be a member to attend some of the events, let's be clear. But once you're a member, though, you're able to join different councils, right? So there's something for everybody to pique your interest. And so we have an entrepreneurship council. And I think joining that one right there, you're collectively going to meet some other fascinating entrepreneurs here in our local community that I'm sure are willing to share their wealth of knowledge with you, right? And help brainstorm, go out for some coffee. But also, too, we have 1 million cups, right? Which is a really big one. And I'm a coach along with some of the other members. And what we do is it's open for businesses that are just starting, that are less than 5 years, right? And they have pressing questions that they don't know how to kind of solve on their own, but they need a soundboard, right? And that's what 1 Million Cups provides through the Kauffman Foundation. And so that's another opportunity to get involved. We have Startup Day, right? And Adriana does a tremendous job in really like understanding if anyone had a question in terms of entrepreneurship or starting it, she's right there to help say, hey, let me plug and you could play in this type of environment locally.
The Startup Day, it's top of mind because it's coming up soon this coming year. To me, what was most interesting about it, and I've dabbled in a number of different industries, mostly all data-related tech kind of industries and some consulting and stuff. But we had CPG brands represented in Pitch Day. We had medical tech. We had marketing tech. This incredible diversity of thought leadership, essentially, and entrepreneurship here in Round Rock. What's some of the companies that you hope to see coming up through the area over the next couple of years?
I mean, I'd love to see a company grow and scale, right, and be the next Dell, Kalahari. I mean, we've Emerson, but I don't think it's created yet, right? I don't think we found that. And I know it's just kind of, it's on the cusp of coming out, and we're going to be here and we're going to all look back as a community and say, wow, we helped providing resources, encouraging somebody who is maybe a little skeptical to come out and flourish. So I'm interested in what industry that individual or entrepreneur is out there that wants to raise their hand and get involved and really make something for themselves and their team.
And the community. Yeah, I think I like I said, the diversity of talent here is over the top. We were just talking about that earlier with what's going on with some of the universities here. Can you share a little bit about how you see that playing into, again, the growth of Round Rock?
Yeah, and I just had the opportunity to go to Texas State University in Round Rock and see their master plan of what that's going to look like, right? And I know the chamber is working hand in hand with them as well with the life science. But if you go out there and look at that area, I mean, you have Austin Community College right there. You have Texas State, you have A&M, and there's so many more educational pieces and components that are wanting to get involved and say, hey, how do we all collectively collaborate? And I think that's the key thing, right? That's the secret sauce for our community is just constantly supporting one another and growing. And I think what they have right now, Texas State, I was like, what? We're going to have dorms? There's going to be like residents on this campus? Like, where was that when I was like growing up, right? Being a Texas State alum. And to see it that, the visionaries, and I think that's what I want to also focus on, is like building on vision is our tagline for the Round Rock Chamber.
Yep.
And if you go back and you look at all the key leaders who've kind of like laid the foundation for us and our current and then the future, I mean, that's what excites me. That's what gets me up and motivated, right? To do better, to want more, and to strive for more for our community growth.
Yeah, I mean, we were just at the Business Awards dinner, and they showed that 75-year video, and just to see again, right, how forward-thinking so many of these leaders have been for our community, and how they've worked so closely together. And again, we've had that discussion, right? It's not just the chamber, it's not just the city government, the nonprofits. Again, what's that magic sauce? Why do we see such collaboration among all different groups here?
And I think it's because we're genuine, right? We really have a heart of gold in the sense of like, if you have a problem, you're going to call me. I'm going to be like, hey, I might not know how to solve it, but guess what? I know somebody else who I could connect you with. And I think that says a lot about our city and our community, is because you don't get that in a lot of other places, right? And that's what's unique about us. And that's why I feel like more people are coming, knocking on our door and wanting to either set up their company here, move their family here, provide education for their children. It's because we have something special. And I know people are going to listen, and now they're going to be like, okay, we're all moving, right? But I mean, let's be honest. We welcome all. And I think that's the part that is exciting for me.
Now let's touch on your mom a little bit, because she started, and I know you're on the board as well, of the Round Rock Ballet Folklorico. What are some of the lessons you learned from her growing up that's impacted you in your journey?
She she taught me to take ownership of who I am and instill confidence in me, right? And to be proud of where my heritage and my culture has came from, right? And I think that's the part that I love seeing her do that still to this day. She is 75 years old and she still teaches and goes out to practice 5 days a week, right? And, she taught me, she was like, your last name isn't Sanchez, it's Sanchez.
Yep.
Right? Your name isn't Selicia, it's Selicia. And she was like, always be proud of where you've come from. And that's what she's instilled in so many generations right now in our community. And the other part that really touches my heart is, she was a school bus driver. And that's where she retired, along with having her dance group, right? And she always taught the students to take pride in who they were, right? And she also said, I could have had any other job, Selicia, that I wanted, right?
Yep.
Bus driving was not like my forte that I wanted to go and pursue, but I wanted to be there with you. And I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. So all of my friends, and I'm blessed to have some that are still here in the community, all know my mom because she was the one taking us to field trips and to different things, driving us along, right, on the bus. But I think it's impactful that she continues to instill that value, not just in her family, right, but in so many other families throughout our community. And they still remember what she's made a difference, right? And just meeting her and understanding it's more about not just dance, it's understanding the cultural aspect of what it means to dance folklorico.
If you could assume the budget was no question, but you could create any cultural event for our community, what would you create?
So my mom, right, and I was just talking about this yesterday, so there's some interesting stuff in the pipeline, but she has already created, and we haven't put it back on because, it takes a lot of manpower, but it's a summer cultural fest, and we used to put that on for several years. But the beauty about it and the purpose was bringing all different types of cultures to share their dance, their food, the way of life, right? And we would have that at the Sharon Preet Plaza. But if budget was not even, I didn't have to think about that. It would be a huge 2-day festival, bringing in and having us all come in as a community of understanding each other's culture and one another. Because as long as we could be curious and learn, the more we're able to say, hey, I could walk side by side. We're all in this together, right? And I think that's something that I always want our younger generation and current generation to take pride in who they are from whatever background they came from, right?
Obviously, you've been here your whole life. Could you share like one or two of your kind of like favorite spots? What could be restaurants, could be just favorite places to hang out in the area that...
I love going to the trails, right? So all the parks, just running them, allowing my 7-year-old to just run free and just taking it in because, some of those parks are the same parks I was at, right?
Yep.
And new ones too. And I think that's the part for me that I love going in the Heritage Trail, right? There's going to be that connectivity and understanding the history along that trail. So walking and seeing that development right now really is a place that I love that you could find me going out and exploring on.
Now, we may or may not keep this in, but I'm really curious. Is there, I don't know what part of Mexico your family's from, but is there a real authentic, either interior Mexican around here that you really love to go to?
Truth be told, I haven't found one.
Okay. No, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, no, truth. I like have some people, I'm like, you need to start your restaurant. Like, oh my goodness, like I would totally come. But,
so
kudos.
There for an entrepreneur, there's an opportunity.
There's an opportunity. But, not to say like the restaurants that are here, I mean, they're great, right? But
totally.
but it's something different on that feel when you eat that true interior, authentic. And I'm always down for some homemade tortillas, flour.
I want to kind of get one last real key insight from you. If you had to leave any prospective entrepreneur or current entrepreneur with some advice based on, again, every day you're talking to customers of companies, you're really tied into the consumer pulse today. What would you want to share with them?
My advice is like, own your voice, right? Own your voice, own your passion. Nobody could take away what you have in your mind. And that's something that I feel like if it's a fire within you, follow that passion. And trust me when I say, right, I was scared and I'm still nervous about certain things, right? But guess what? That just shows that you care and there's a purpose. And the minute you don't have that nervousness or like, oh, should I not? That's the time that maybe then it's not for you. So always just own your voice and lead with that passion.
And that's also where authenticity really comes from, because when it's your passion, it's not someone else's, it's not, something you're trying to show for the market. It's you. When that authenticity comes out, it just amplifies. It's just natural. And so few, really find that courage to bring that up. And I appreciate seeing that in you every day and for everything you do for the community. If people want to get in touch with you and learn more about the things that you're doing, how would they find you?
Yeah, definitely go check out our website. It's thinkgroupaustin.com. You could find me on LinkedIn, right? Send me an email. I love to grab coffee, be an inspiration. I'm always a team player. I want to help connect. And I think that's where the passion lies, right? Is just making sure we continue to uplift one another throughout the process and to make a better community for all of us.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.